It's the guest. We are live, baby. Let's let everyone come in for a minute.
Live on a Friday. Looking forward to this one.
I'm pumped. I've just had a really incredible huddle. We have every Friday morning huddle with the agents, and we've just totally nailed our November strategy to finish. Off the back of the webinar that you and I done, actually, I learned loads on that, of the 3 buckets of the focus for the last final push of the year. So that was absolutely
That was a great
incredible
session with the scaling up guys earlier this week on that. It was brilliant.
Yeah, and loads comes out, doesn't it? We're getting some mornings. Morning, Eddie. Eddie, my man in the house. So today's session is needed, I think, Reg, you reckon?
Oh, 100% it's needed. But I just one thing that I think is really important, because I was with Perry Bishop in the Cotswolds yesterday. And of course, you know, everybody's talking about the budget and so forth. But my message to them was 2 things: mindset and control the controllable. You know, we talked about it a little bit earlier this week with the scaling up guys, that what is within your circle of influence. And if you're wanting to sell your property and you're buying a property, it doesn't matter whether you're going to end up selling for a little bit less because you're going to negotiate better on the other end. There are still opportunities out there. And, you know, I've got moving works who've knocked it out the park and had the best 2 weeks in terms of lead indicators, listings and so forth. Perry Bishop, it's gone a bit quieter, but they're hustling really well. So you've just got to go, mindset is everything. How do you control the controllable? Because I think when you're in a climate that we're in at the moment, what you find out is who are the great estate agents who can truly hustle and really sweat every single opportunity and make every contact count. So the simple answer is yes, today is really important. And hopefully what we'll do in 45 minutes is add a shed load of value, as always, for those that are on the call.
What I think about at times like this and the market is what you always say is what you say will be the way. So yeah. I had obviously got boot camp coming up. We'll chat about that a little bit later. But I had someone reply to an email I sent saying, you know, I'm no one's buying, everyone's waiting for the budget, so I'm not going to do much now between now and the end of the year. And straight away I thought, well, clearly that's no one's going to buy with that mindset, because you think everyone's waiting for the budget and they ain't, because we've just knocked out probably our best week in sales for probably 8 weeks. So I really think mindset control, and we'll come on to that, but remembering what you always say is what you say will be the way.
If you think you can or think you can't, you're probably right. What you say will be the way. It's so important. 80% of success in life is psychology and mindset. 20% is skill. So guess what? If you think it's going to be a difficult market, it will be a difficult market. So it's always like when I talk to people about having a performance conversation with the team. If your mindset going into it, this is going to be a difficult conversation. Guess what kind of conversation it's going to be? A difficult conversation. So there's something about, and guys, I'm absolutely pragmatic. I know it's challenging out there at the marketplace. You know, I don't just work in the estate agency. I work across so many different market sectors. And there's some sectors doing really well. There's some that are challenging. But the one common denominator is what's within your circle of influence, how you control the controllable. The one gift that you own is your absolute mindset. And, you know, it's really important with your teams that you focus on the glass being half full, not half empty. And I just think that is a great opening to today's session, just as a framing for talking about more listings, higher fees. Perry and I, if you know a lot of our work, we just want to make stuff really practical. So we've got 2 buckets today that we're going to talk about: more listings, higher fees. What are the top 3 strategies that you can do in order to get more listings? And what are the top 3 strategies in order to get higher fees? And it might just be that on more listings, we give you a bonus one, because there might be a 4th that we slip in there as well. So again, we've only got 45 minutes, so let's get focused.
We'll rattle on. So throughout this, guys, do put stuff in the comments, because I'm going to be flicking my screen share on and off as we go through. I like these being, it's not death by slide PowerPoint. We want to talk, see questions, answer questions. But the mad thing with this is that this is all stuff that's happening every day in Power Bespoke, in the scaling up members' businesses. And we only share the stuff that we can see is working on the front line. Nothing's theoretical. Is that right? Yeah, it's all factual. So let me start with that. Let me quickly bring my screen in.
And Perry, while you're bringing your screen in, don't people tell me that you can't succeed in the marketplace that we're in today. You know, if I look at Perry Bishop, they're 30% up on their resi sales this year, and that's against, you know, they're already doing 2.2 million, so they're going to do 3 million quid. They're absolutely knocking it out the park, and the team are more focused. There's a real performance culture in there. It's amazing seeing what they're doing. So I know it's challenging, but you've just got to be better. And that's why my point about what you find in this climate is who are the great estate agents, and it weeds out the rest. So Perry, my job is to help you to be a world-class estate agency business that really can add value, really make a difference.
So let's talk about, so we're going to go through two main buckets here, right? More listings, higher fees. The premise of the whole thing is what I've been finding with the agents that we're working with in scaling up is early on in the program, there was a lot they were doing, almost like spraying and praying. And I think that's a really bad thing to be doing.
Perry, can you go full on the screen?
What's that?
Okay, so can you go full on the screen? It's not a full size screen.
I don't think I can, but I can zoom it in a bit more. Can we see this? Is that a bit better?
Yeah.
So the spraying and praying, so I'm a massive fan, as you have what I call the 5-legged stool that we'll talk about another time. Haven't got time now, but the 5 key areas that generate you quality clients. And I speak to agents and they're saying, yeah, we're doing 15 things through our marketing, but none of them have got any particular data or measures behind them. So you kick off, Reg, with the more listings, how strategies, real life strategies that we can get more listings.
So guys, just building on what Perry talked about there, there's a really, really important point here. So there's something psychological and magical about the power of 3. And whenever I work with clients, not just in a estate agency, but across business sectors, my goal is, what are the top 3 strategies? And what you find is there'll be top 3 strategies that are delivering 80% of your business and your clients through the front door. So I've got a audiology business that I'm working with in London, 3 practices. They've literally got 2 private equity businesses circling them at the moment. Their business has been valued. It's an owner-managed business. I've been working with him 2 years. He's just had a 6 million valuation, and they're wanting to invest 3 million quid in the business. What really sold it to the private equity was when they said, what's your key sources of how you get business, and what's your cost to acquire your CTA for each lead? And what's great is he's got 3 strategies. Number 1 is referrals from professional doctors and from ENTs. Number 2 is he's got customer referrals. And number 3 is his white paper report that he's got that he gets downloads on. 19% of his business comes from professional referrals. That on average costs him £25 a lead. And 39% of his business comes from client referrals. We're going to talk more about that in a moment. His average cost of acquisition of lead there is £50 because that's what he gives a John Lewis, Amazon or Marks and Spencer voucher. And you know the question that customers ask, can I only refer 1 client? So when you think about that, you've got to narrow down, and the spray and pray. So many businesses in so many areas are spray and pray. They're trying to be everything to everybody. They're trying to do 27 things and they're doing none of them well, which is why Perry and I always like, let's hone down, let's drill down into your getting in the living rooms in terms of more listings. What are the 3 top things that you can do? So good framing, Perry.
Yeah. So let's start on the daddy of all of them, which the easiest way to get into more living rooms is to have other people get you into more living rooms. So that's a recommendation, right?
Yeah. So the headline for this one is you've got to be obsessed in the quality of the service experience that you deliver. That's the precursor that leads into this. If you are obsessed in the consistency of the quality experience that you deliver, and the driver for measuring that is your net promoter score. And if you're not measuring your customer satisfaction, then that's one thing you need to do. And that's what we go deep on Bootcamp out about, how to track your NPS, the points at which you track your NPS. But you've got to know what your average NPS is in terms of your CSAT, customer satisfaction, because that is your flashing beacon that says you are shit hot at what you do. And of course, the number 1, the way that NPS works is the simple question is on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. How likely are you to refer other friends, colleagues, people that you know to Power Bespoke? And if you've got a high NPS, then you've got one of the greatest gifts that any business can have, which is you've got customers who equal your sales force. Now, that's a psychological mindset shift. Most people don't think about their customers being their sales force, but think about it for the moment. The best advocates that you have are delighted customers that you've helped sell their property, negotiate their onward purchase that's got them into their dream house. They are your brand advocates who will go to the top of the tallest building and shout about how good you are. Why are you not turning them into your proactive sales force out there, driving listings, driving advice meetings, getting you in the living room of their friends? Because the great thing about referrals is people hang out with like-minded people. So if you're attracting quality clients and you're getting referrals off the back of that, guess what you're getting? A torrent of quality leads that will convert at a higher rate, that will be better quality, that won't quibble about fees because they're looking for a relational estate agent to partner with. This is the golden goose that people just don't double down on.
So let me show you how that works in Power Bespoke. I'll share my screen quickly, and there's bring this to stage. There we go. And then, so here's some data, right? So our biggest appraisal source is recommendation of Power Bespoke, and that's no fluke that our biggest client source is recommendation of Power Bespoke, and it's no fluke that that your highest fees will come from recommendation. So you look at our top three, we've got recommendation of Power Bespoke, past client of the agents that are working with Power Bespoke, and recommendation of the agent and past client of Power Bespoke. Now that's not a fluke, because when you look at this data, this is our net promoter score data of people that have sold with us, and we've got an 88 net promoter score. If you know net promoter scores, that's ridiculously high. That's in the Apple and Tesla territory.
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of self-fulfilling. So be obsessive about creating experiences, and you actually happen to sell houses during that period as well. But what you are doing is creating the experience to get loads of recommendation, to make your life easier, to sign more clients. And there's no fluke on that either, that 52% of people we send proposals to sign them. And that's, again, pretty high for the industry, because generally it'd be 35% conversion across the board. So it's really important to double down on. If your main client source is leaflets or direct mail, that should be a problem and a red flag, because you're a service business. So your main client source should be from people that have experienced the service, telling other people about it. And that's called creating Ravelini fans. That's called being remarkable. So one of our core values is be remarkable. Everything we do, we run through the remarkability test to be like, is this comment worthy enough that someone wants to go out of their way and put it on their Facebook to their friends? So, you know, get you more living rooms, let your clients be your sales force. Lots of estate agents say they're good, but they have no actual data apart from some 5-star reviews that they've maybe sent a link to the people they know are happy. A true net promoter score system needs to go to everyone on time, every time, without fail, and needs to be fully automated in the background. So even John that you've just gazumped because you got a higher offer and the seller wants to accept it should be getting the net promoter score survey to make it a true reflection. And you'll find some say, you know, really disappointing. Someone outbid me, but Steph was really great in the way she handled it, and it's just disappointing. Or they'll say, absolute shysters, you've gazumped me, I'll never deal with you ever again. And that's experience. That's really important to do that. And I'm a massive fan that if you don't know your net promoter score, stop trying to get new clients, because there's no point running new clients through a shit experience when you'll be better off improving the experience and then focusing on going to get more clients.
And this is back to the fundamental principle of great businesses are built outside in, not inside out. The customer is the epicenter, which is why I use the word be obsessed in delivering consistent, repeatable, predictable service experiences every time. Because if you do that, and you're only as good as your last service experience, you're ever only as good as last conversation that you've had, you're only ever as good as the last advice meeting that you've given. And the great thing about this is whether you've got 5 agents in your business or whether you're a sole agent, this stuff works. And making this real, number one, are you really tracking your source of leads of where they're coming from in terms of advice meetings? You've got to get that data capture. Number two, we will show you how to implement Net Promoter Score. It's easy to do. It's one of the things that people walk away from boot camp actually having it implemented in their business. And number three, are you or your team relentlessly every time when they're in the living room asking the question before they leave the living room about, have you got any other friends, colleagues, etc., who might be selling their property? Because if you have, can you send them in my direction? And I bet that your team are not doing that consistently every single time. When they're doing viewings, they're not asking about referrals, and we'll come on to the internal marketing conversion in a second. So honestly, we could do a whole session today just about customer referrals and how you systemize your customer referral program. But as Perry said, referrals will convert at a higher rate, 52%, not 33%. They will be less costly to serve. They're more relational, and they will pay higher fees. So your conversion rates across the whole board will be better. So you've got to double down on running what I call an SRP, a systemized referral customer program, turning your customers into your sales force that just brings you a torrent of quality leads through the front door of your business.
So that's the first one. Yeah, and it needs to be ingrained in the team. Thanks, John. Really appreciate that. Oh, by the way, John, who else do you know that might need a estate agent right now? Oh, my friend at the school was saying they're planning to move in next year. Okay, great. Can you find me their number? Blah, blah, blah. But then once you've got that as a kind of habit, what's the saying that you make your habits and then your habits make you? When that becomes a habit, then you just throw some automation behind it so that every 4 months, every buyer and seller gets an automated text message saying, hey, John, hope you're well. Just a quick one. Just wonder if you happen to know anybody planning to move in house in the near future. We get an incredible amount of replies from that saying, not at the moment, but thanks for checking in. And we get a lot of replies saying, funnily enough, so-and-so's on the market at the minute. I totally forgot to mention you, but let me send you their number or whatever. So that's really important. And then sliding into the next. Now, these are obviously, there's no silver bullet to this, but the next one is extremely, extremely important. And if I asked a room of 10 estate agents, what percentage of buyers that register with you do you convert into an advice meeting? 9 of them are going to look at me like I'm talking another language. And then I show you this report, which is really important. Our 5th quality advice meeting generator is our conversion. We call them API conversion, applicant conversion by the agent. Now, what this is people that ringing up to be like, hey, can I view that house with you, please? If you're spending money trying to get new advice meetings and your conversion of buyers with properties to sell isn't at least 20%, you need to turn off all your marketing and have a really important huddle with all your team to be like, we need to get this to a hard deck of 20%. The holy grail is 37.5% of anyone registering with you with a house to sell, but the hard deck needs to be 20. When you get it to 20, you can then start to think, right, let's move on to the next thing whilst we're improving that thing. And now we've got a system running.
So Perry and I call this your internal marketing conversion. And it's so important because it's like, why every single day have you got opportunities where you've got people coming to view properties that you're selling who have either, one, they've already got their property on the market, which could be sticky, they could not be happy with the agent that they've got, or 2, they've not come to market yet. Why are we focusing our effort on spray and pray to get other opportunities for advice meetings when every single day we have got a torrent of people coming to view properties with us? And how do you systemize that process so it becomes relentless, it becomes habitual, it just becomes the way that you do business? And Perry's point there about ultimately the measure is 37.5% conversion of people who are viewing. And that can be people with property on market currently, maybe the conversion rate is going to be more like 25%. And people who are not yet on market but are viewing, our conversion rate to advice meeting is 50%. Therefore, when you aggregate those two together is where you get to your average of 37.5%. So again, this is what you need to do with your teams. And what gets measured gets done, guys. If you've got a board in your office which talks about, right, this week, how many viewings have we done? And then you go, right, of those viewings, how many people did we talk to about whether they're on market yet or whether they're not? And how many have we switched into an advice meeting? You know, if you're not tracking this data, you will never get it to become habitual and get it to become part of how you do your business. But but it absolutely frightens me that we have opportunities every single day through viewings that we are doing where we are leaving opportunities lying on the table. That has got to be the definition of insanity.
And let's talk about the whole quality advice meeting. Now, you might call it evaluation, which I hate, but let's just, how do you get a quality valuation versus just evaluation? The word quality in front of it makes you think about it completely different. So the quality of the ones you self-convert from your database, whether it's phone call, on the viewing, text message, email nurture, whatever, the way to get it can be different, but you just got to get it to at least 20%. They're the highest quality as well, because without you asking the question, they might have viewed a house with you on a Saturday and they were super blown away by how good the person was that showed them around. They might have commented on how realistic your photography is, and most other agents use fishbowl lenses and it skews the property. They might have been super impressed that you've done a viewing with them at 7 o'clock on a Friday night. Like, they're the easier ones to get the yes from if the experience, talking about the first point of Net Promoter Score, has been blow your socks off amazing. Then it becomes like, hey, John, glad you liked the house. Did you notice that it was Rightmove featured property advert that we used to market house? Oh, yeah, I noticed that. Oh, great. When's a good time for me to pop round? How's Tuesday or Thursday at 4 to me? So I'll give you some advice about your property. Like, you progress the customer into the next stage in the process. And that becomes, yes, it's labor intensive at the start, but you test and measure. You have set kind of, I wouldn't call them scripts, but templates on what I call the door opener. And then once you've got that nailed and it's converted into a yes, you systemize it with a text message and you automate it and you get loads of yeses. So I think it frustrates me. So for 3 months, we spend about £3,000 a month, maybe 4, on marketing, right? The brand. But I said to the team, for 3 months, I'm turning all that off, guys, because we've all got lazy. Our conversion from buyer registered to advice meetings dropped to 17%. That just ain't good enough. For me to keep spending money on other things to bring in new clients, us as a team have to be at 20% plus. We're kicking at 31% at the minute, which is still not where I want it, but I'll accept it whilst we look at why is it dropped from 35 to 31. You can analyze that with data and optimize once the process is set. But the first thing is knowing what your current metric is, what we call in bootcamp language and scaling up, your measures that matter. That's a measure that absolutely matters, because you just need to be good estate agents. Someone's got a house to sell. They're either not marketing it yet. It's your job to get in front of them, or they're currently marketing it, it ain't sold. It's your job to get in front of them, to give them advice to get it sold. And that's on you, no one else. Not a Google ad or a Facebook post or an Instagram video of all the sexy property tours. That's like, get yourself in there, and until you've got 2 in 10, you're not good enough.
Yeah, and what's really important with this, guys, is that I love the whole what if and possibility thinking. And I always say to clients, what if the only way that you could generate new business in this case was through 1, client referrals, because you've got a really high NPS score, or 2, your internal marketing conversion? What if that was your only 2 lead generation sources that were going to make sure that you could pay the mortgage and put food on the table? How focused would you be on optimizing and maximizing those 2 strategies? And you'd be all over it. So that's the kind of focus and mentality and mindset that you need to bring to this, because when you start to layer these strategies, and then you come on to the third one, which we're going to overlay with that, which I get really excited about, which is about having a systemized switcher strategy. So do you want to talk to that one, Perry?
Rewind you a little bit on that, Reg. Just rewind you a little bit. You've jogged my memory. And so bootcamp's always in November, right? And I had an email February this year from someone that attended bootcamp that said, Perry, I need to thank you loads. You've saved me this year already 40 grand, because we weren't tracking the internal conversion. I was spending a fortune, which was putting a plaster on the fact that the team just weren't doing the bare minimum, what I employ them to do, get clients, help them move. And so I've turned all that off. And our metric when we started was 5%. It's now 15%. And they're free advice meetings, because you've already got the team member that you're paying. But what they were doing, they were paying the team member plus £3,000 a month in marketing that wasn't getting them any quality advice meetings. But the quality comes from the conversations and relationships, the 7, 8, 9, 10 follow-ups, so that you convert more. So that's super important.
Guys, put a comment in. How many people are absolutely, because there's quite a few people on the call live today, how many people absolutely can hand on heart say that they know what their internal conversion rate is and they've been tracking it all year? No, it's not to show anyone up, but it'd just be really interesting to know whether people are all over that stat. So, put some comments in. Can we go on to the third one now, Perry?
Yeah, love that. So let me frame it for you and let me show you something. So this is the switcher strategy that we're incredibly proud of, that we walk you through. And again, look, with Bootcamp, we talk about this stuff because it's really important. And Bootcamp is the kind of nuts and bolts, and we help you get it implemented. But if I showed you, I'm massive on the easiest way to get higher quality clients, both in terms of fee, conversion rate, motivation, is to target the ones that are more desperate. And I call that a second-hand first mentality. And if I quickly bring this in, we spend £2,000 a month on direct mail. And because we spend that, and I'm going to be spending more going into next year because it just works. It took a lot of time and money to optimize it, and what trigger points do we send? What do we say at what time? Blah, 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 blah. But you look at some of these kind of, we've listed, we've been out to £685,000 worth of fees just from direct mail. I say we haven't signed because we haven't won them all yet. Many are still on the market, blah, blah, blah. But having once you've got your net promoter score, then you've got your internal conversion. For me, the next thing, before social ads and all the sexy stuff people want to do, the most important thing to get in place is a direct mail strategy that actually works and converts into quality clients. So this guy here, I pulled this up because we went to go and see him in June. We listed it in June, and we've just agreed that at 715,000. We were the third estate agent, and he's paying us 2% of 715,000 quid, whereas the previous agent was charging 1%. But 1% of no sale is pointless for people that want to move. So yeah, go on, Reg. I'll frame that a little bit, but just from a direct mail perspective, switcher strategy.
Yeah, and depending on the marketplace, the switcher strategy works well. So if you're in a buoyant market where properties just come on the market and they sell straight away, the switcher strategy doesn't work. In the current climate where properties are sticky and stuff isn't selling as fast as it could do, the switcher strategy is absolutely right in the lane, and probably will be for most of 2026 as well. I don't know what the stat is. You hear different people talk about it, but how many properties don't sell with the first estate agent, Perry? What's the average?
Depending on who you talk to, say 50%. Some say 40, some say 60. Like 50 is, and we feel that as agents, right, as well. So that feels right.
Yeah, so let's take that as the stake in the ground, 50% of properties. So sometimes you do not want to take properties on at the front end for the wrong fees, because the reality is if 50% of properties don't sell, there's a good chance you're going to get a second bite of the cherry with that. And that's where the systemized switcher strategy comes in. So when you start to see that stock is sticking on the marketplace, then that's your opportunity to systemize how you approach those clients, those customers, and start to look at the switcher. And as Perry says, what's really interesting with switchers, and I've seen this across a lot of the estate agents I work with, you will get on average another 0.25, another 0.5% on your fee when you do switcher business than you will. Secondhand stock commands a higher premium because clients are frustrated. They've already gone through the pain, and therefore they're prepared to pay a higher fee for some certainty around changing agents and being able to get their property sold. So it's such a clever strategy when you see stuff that isn't selling, that you can systemize the approach through your 11-step plan, which is something that Perry and I created. There's a whole systemized way in which you do this.
So what you'll find with the 47% of houses we sell failed to sell with another estate agency before. And that's quite a powerful discussion in the living room to be like, look, John, and I'm massive on the apologetic close. Is I'll be talking to clients and say, look, John, I'm really, really sorry that Cubitt and West has misadvised you this much, that you've sat on the market for 4 months, but don't worry, feel, felt and found, back to the old tactics of making people feel like they're making the right decision. 47% of clients that we sell or that we move were in exactly the same position as you. But once we took over, implemented our 11-step plan, dealt with our certified advanced negotiator agents, here's some success stories. Like, it's just a much better way. We spend £0 trying to get fresh to market clients. All our marketing spend is in going after secondhand stock, period. We don't do any Google ads for people, estate agents near me. It's just pointless. All our spend goes into bringing clients over to us that have failed. They're lower management. You know, everyone thinks housing is selling the week. Let another agent muck about with that. If they don't agree to our marketing price suggestions from first time to launch the market, we'll just step aside and say, look, don't sign the long contract with them. My phone's always on. Let's keep in touch. And normally after 3 months, that it's either under offer. I get it. We've missed opportunity, but we'll get it back. And if you're charging 2%, what's better? Getting 10 listings at 1% with expectation through the roof. Other agents hammering them saying, oh, Perry should have sold that by now. Your house should have flown. Or 5 listings at 2%, where it's sole agency, sole selling rights, should I add, higher fees. You're probably getting it reduced to what you originally advised them it should be on the market for. And it's so much better that way. It's so much of an easy, I wouldn't say an easier life, but more enjoyable as an agent, because they're looking at you now for the solutions rather than thinking that they've got the solution. There's a quick question that Scott's put in there, so I'll quickly answer that before we go too far. Any advice on how to improve the conversion % of buyer leads into advice meetings? Any recommendations on templates? So yes, we've tested and measured so many templates, and one that you'll get them all as templates at bootcamp, but one that's really powerful, Scott, is literally, and we've systemized it through SMS now, is a text message saying, hi, John, is your house still for sale? Sounds crazy. And that could be a phone conversation as well. They'll say, yeah, it's still for sale. And generally the conversation goes like this. How's it going? Oh, not very well. I've had a good few. We've had no viewings for 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. And then you just be great at what you do and wiggle yourself into the living room. I'm seeing a client near you next Tuesday at 4. How about a pop in at 6? Just agree to sell this one around the corner from you. What do you think of this? It was on the market for 8 days and got full asking price. How about a pop round and talk you through the process that we followed? So if nothing else, you can get your current agent to implement the advice that I share, blah, blah, blah. So there's loads of ways, but it doesn't matter actually at this point, Scott, to be fair. The point is that it just gets done. If you ring 10 people saying, hi, John, I see your house is on the market still. Could I pop round next Tuesday to talk you through how we're selling houses right now? 1 in 10 might say yes. And they will say yes, because 1 in 10 are going to be so peed off and frustrated with their current estate agent, they'll look at any option. Then you get better and better, and that becomes 30 to 40% yes. That's the important thing.
And particularly based on what Perry's talking about there, if you add in 2 things, one of the things I'll do is I'll bring our 11-step plan, which is our step-by-step guide for how to sell your house for a premium price. And if nothing else, I'll leave you with that 11-step plan, which you'll be able to make sure that your current agent is applying in order to get your property sold. So the more you make it frictionless, the more they perceive it as being value add, the more they perceive it as being low risk, and it's massive value adding. And then if you do your job when you're in the living room, you'll be amazed then about how your conversion rates and how you then start to drive the switcher strategy. So there are 3 things, guys. I'm just conscious of time because of what we've got. We've not even talked about higher fees yet. So more listings, obsessed in the quality of the service experience that you deliver every time, track and measure your net promoter score, and then therefore drive customer referrals off the back of that. Number 2, you've got to track your internal marketing conversion rate in order to really think about how you really harvest that opportunity that is happening in your business every single day. And if you're not tracking it, you're not going to be optimizing it. So that's the first step. And then the third thing is about a systemized switcher strategy. You get those three strategies working, and they are all things that are controllable, that are within your gift to do right now, off the back of this call with Perry and I, to go back and implement those in your business. And then just a fourth one I want to throw in here quickly, Perry. I'm going to take 2 minutes on this because we do need to get on to higher fees. Make your business a frictionless business. What do I mean by that? How do you make it easy for customers to do business with you? And the way to do that is, if you're really great at what you do, you've got to let that confidence ooze out in terms of how you position what Perry and I call your compelling value proposition with customers. We talk about this all over this on Bootcamp. And if a customer asks you the question about why they should choose you, and they're looking there attentively, looking in the whites of your eyes, waiting for a succinct, articulate, confident response to that question, how good is your answer to that question? Why should I choose you? I'm going to see 4 other agents today. What makes you different, Royston? Why should I choose you over everybody else? And you've got to have 3 compelling reasons to that. And at Power Bespoke, we've just drilled this. All our guys will talk about this. You know, a higher sale price, a lower purchase price, and no tie-in. And that's the important bit, the last bit there about no tie-in, which is the frictionless business. Why would you want to tie people in on a 12 or 14-week contract and create a attrition risk flight point at the 12 or 14-week mark? If you believe in what you do and you're good at what you do, have no contract tie-in, which makes it easy for customers to say yes. Because if you go no tie-in and say, and by the way, if you see another agents, just ask them whether they tie you into a contract, because we don't, because we truly believe in what we do. We truly believe in the value that we can add. We truly believe in delivering an outstanding service experience. So why would we tie you into a contract? And I think that is so powerful in terms of the confidence and how you position that with clients. That makes you a frictionless business. That makes you easy to do business with. So one of the things that we'll nail with you, either on Bootcamp or on our scaling up programs, is how to really package your compelling value proposition in answer to that question, why people should choose you.
So there's 2 things on that quickly as well. No tie-in. I'm an advocate for that. I explain to people that if a week down the line you don't feel like we're delivering, me personally, and it's a company standard, then you can just give us 1 second's notice and we'll pull it off the market and it'll be off our books. The other thing is to make it easy to do business with you. I think you need a goal to have your terms of business on one side of an A4 piece of paper.
Yeah.
So one thing that I hated when I come into a estate agency was the terms of business were just ridiculous. No one ever read them anyway. We know this because no one ever knows what their notice period is. Whenever you're trying to take a client off another agent, that you're like, how long you're tied in for and what's the notice period, they never know. They've got to go and find the contract, send it to you so you can tell them. So just make it simple. 1 A4 side bit of paper, sole selling rights. Here's a fee you're going to pay us once we do what we said we're going to do, and retain clients through being great rather than because they signed and 4 weeks down the line they regret signing it, because it just creates a really bad relationship. Higher fees. Let's go into that, Reg.
Yeah, brilliant. We've got 7 minutes, so we're going to have to be punchy through this. Let me talk to you about mindset first. And then Perry will share off the back of this one I share with you the key stats that you must know, because mindset is all about, do you value yourself? And if you don't value yourself and what you bring to the party, you're never going to be able to charge the appropriate remuneration and fees in the marketplace for the value that you add and the difference that you make. I see the journey that I've been on with Perry Bishop, and I've talked to them about increasing fees for years. And I'll share a story with you. There's a guy who came into the Cirencester office. He started it just before the summer. They were averaging in the Cirencester office, which does about £1 million a year just out of one office, £1 million worth of sales. The new guy joined, never been an estate agent before. He went out and he did won his first listing on one of the meetings that he did. Came back to the office, and the average fee for the Cirencester office at the time was 1.25%. And he came back and he walked in the office and he said, "How'd you go on?" And he went, "Won the listing." They were like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. You've only just started. It's the second only advice meeting you've done. You've won the listing. What fee did you get?" And he went, 1.6%. And they were like, "You're charging 1.6%. We're an average 1.25%. He went, "Yeah, I don't get it, guys. I don't get why you're undervaluing yourselves. I value what I do, the value that I'm going to add. So I'm charging 1.6%. And now his average fee is 1.75%, and the whole office, the bar is raised, and the whole office for the last 3 months has been above 1.5%. So this is a mindset thing. And I think when I look at the estate agency market, it is tough what you guys do every single day, but also for the value that you add, if you are good at what you do, we need to charge the appropriate remuneration that is aligned to the value and the difference that we make. However, there's one great metric that from a mindset perspective will give you the confidence to charge the appropriate fees, which is what, Perry?
So it's the average increase from initial offer to sale agreed. So if you're looking in the mirror thinking, oh, I don't know what value I bring. I know I'm good. I care about my clients, but I've got no real data to push. You know, everyone's been on the whole percentage of marketing price. We achieve 101% of marketing price or whatever. But I think the more valuable one to put in front of clients is you're going to pay me. Let me share my screen quickly as well, while I talk through this. You're going to pay me, John, 0.5% more than that estate agent, because I'm going to achieve you 2.3% more. You probably can't see this, to be fair, but this says at the bottom here, I'm going to achieve you 2.3% more for your house than somebody wants to pay for it. And that's a really good way of positioning it, because you'll get an initial offer of 310 and you'll negotiate 9 more grand out of them, or 10 more grand here, or 10 more grand here, or you get the asking price at 1.9 million here. So it's really, really important that if you struggle with a mindset piece, measures that matter from a you perspective, but the client don't care what you're going to charge them. The client cares what they're going to end up with. And if you can illustrate correctly that here's my last 15 sales, John, and obviously buyers are going to want to try their luck, but the reason I'm a certified advanced negotiator is so I squeeze every last penny out the market for you. And on average right now, that's 2.3%. It will fluctuate, right? Ours has been up as high as 4% because the market's on our side for that metric. But I guarantee everyone sitting on this call are a cut above the rest anyway, because they're on the call. And I'll be surprised if you're not achieving at least 2.5% from initial offer to sale agreed. And that's an incredible metric for you to walk down the street with a bit more swagger, knowing that the value you bring to your clients' lives is 2.5% more for their house. And the metric, you ain't got to compare that to any other estate agents. A buyer said, I want to pay 310. You've got them 320, 10 grand better off. And it's not easy to do that in this market.
Let me share a quick story that reinforces this point, Perry, because I think it'll really drive it home. And we might overrun 5 minutes, but it doesn't matter. Got a little bit of an echo coming back.
We can hear you, all right?
Okay, so let me share this story with you. There's a manufacturing plant that have this machine that's supposed to go. Kate's saying there's an echo. Why would it be echoing?
I've turned my volume down to make sure it doesn't come back through my.
Is it better now? That's it. Perfect. Okay, let me share this story with you. So there's a manufacturing facility. They've got this machine in there, and the machine's supposed to go. And this one particular week, it's going chunk. And the general manager is really frustrated because the machine is only running at half speed. Productivity is well down. He gets the in-house engineers to work on this machine. Over 3 days, they still can't fix it. He's frustrated. He calls in the external consultant. The consultant comes in, looks at the machine for literally 90 seconds, goes to his tool bag, pulls out a 14-pound sledgehammer, hits the machine, and the machine goes. The general manager says, that is amazing. My Muppets in-house engineers have spent 3 days trying to fix this machine day and night. He said, send me through your bill. I'll get it paid immediately. Week later, he's sat in his office looking through his bill, his in tray, and there's the invoice from the consultant. And the invoice says on it, fixing machine, £2,000. And he thinks, oh my God, £2,000. He said, that's really expensive. So he phones the consultant. He said, look, you're going to have to give me a breakdown of this bill. He said, it's too expensive. I'm never going to get this through unless you tell me the breakdown. He said, no problem. I can give you the breakdown. He said, hitting machine with hammer, £200. Knowing where to hit it, £1,800. You don't get paid in life for what you do. You get paid in life for what you've done. I go and speak at conferences, and my average fee is £5,000. I'm doing 4, 5, 6 conferences a week at the moment. Anything between 5 and 7.5. Client said to me the other week, he said, Royston, I can get somebody for £1,000. I went, no problem, go and use him. But he won't deliver what I do. And what I deliver in 60 minutes will be worth what potentially somebody else could do in a day. Now, that's not arrogance. It's just I've got 25 years of business experience. I can diagnose problems really quickly, and I can help you to be the best that you can be. And hopefully, even from this 45 minutes with Perry and I today, you're getting golden nuggets, bombs, gems that you can take away, you can instantly apply. So just imagine what it'd be like if you spent 3 days with us at boot camp. So that's the first one, Perry, mindset shift. The second, let's do the second.
Mindset, but let your internal data that you're tracking empirically, yeah, that's a word, isn't it? Empirically, be the driver of the mindset. You need to tell and show yourself how good you are, not just because you're arrogant with it, but because you've got the data to back it up. Now, I know no one's going to out negotiate me when it comes to I'll get an offer. No one's going to then negotiate a higher price than me. I genuinely believe that because I'm obsessed with negotiation. So I can deliver that in the living room without being arrogant, but showing the data. The other really important one for fees, and I'm going to quickly share my screen quickly, is once you have the data, you then need to be really transparent and open about your fees, right? So we touched on CVP earlier, but I know between our agents, we've got over 100 years of combined experience. And that to me is hugely valuable. And me and the agents talk about everyone's sales and offers and everything regularly. We touched on the CVP, so why people choose us. So that's really important. But the other really important thing is to make sure you are openly public about your fees. So we've got a page on our website called Fees, and people can go and look at them. They can Google Power Bespoke fees, and it's going to tell them, you're going to frame it that we achieve more for their property than the average estate agency, but our fees are 2.4%. And on top of that, we've got a bonus fee, which is a performance fee. And it comes back to with our price promise guarantee. And that information goes in our appointment confirmation emails. And it's extremely public from the get-go. When you know you're good, you ain't got to worry about convincing people a lot of the time of how good you are. Because if you've done the first bit right, most of your new business come from recommendation. And it's a very easy one to overcome that. John, who recommended you, felt the same when he instructed us, but he's now recommending us because he's over the moon that he paid us 2%. Or just side note on that, our average fee across the company is 1.8%. So we don't always charge 2%, but it's really important to be super confident with what you deliver.
So that's the second point about higher fees, your transparency in your pricing proposition and being confident about it. And then the third one, which is the bomb for me, that I think this is one of the most powerful growth strategies across all different sectors and industries that we've created, which is what we call the onward negotiation or the onward purchase. And let me just frame it really quickly. We do this, go into this much deeper on bootcamp and actually show you where to put this in the contract, how to implement it. But the concept of the onward negotiation service is this, that if we are, notice Perry talks about being property negotiators, world-class property negotiators. If we are world-class property negotiators, why do we only help in a estate agency? The majority of the time, our customers do 50% of the transaction, which is helping them sell their house. Why don't we help them with the second part of the transaction, which is the onward negotiation? Now, not every customer who you sell a house for is going to be doing the onward negotiation or moving on to buy a second property. But the question is, for every 10 properties, how many are? Because if you are not implementing an onward negotiation service, you are leaving money lying on the table. And even worse, you're actually doing your customers a massive disservice because you're only delivering 50% of your expertise that you have and 50% of your value proposition. So the onward negotiation service is helping people to negotiate their onward purchase. And the reality with this is, it doesn't matter how good somebody is at negotiation. The one thing you never negotiate on is something where you've got emotional skin in the game. And buying your property, you've got emotional skin in the game. So why not outsource that to an expert who's going to do that on your behalf and get you the best possible price on your onward negotiation? Is that a good framing, Mr. Power?
Amazing. So once you build this into what you do, like once you understand that the business you're in isn't selling houses, it's helping people move, it's opening the door to their next chapter, it's whatever. It's when you go above the thing you do day to day with what it actually does for people, and start looking at the onward negotiation as a service that you offer, then you start looking at how you charge for it. Now, my advice to people, we'll talk you through on bootcamp, implementing this into terms of business and getting people to sign up for it on instruction, blah, blah, blah. But is to use it to bolster your fee. So on the fees topic, we're in a really dire stage in this country that there was a news article this week where our fees have hit an all-time low. The average fee across the country is 1%. It's always been around 1.25%. Now, this is an incredible way. If you're like, no, I'm not going to conform to normality, I'm going to charge 1.5% still, but to get that 1.5% fee with less friction, you're going to offer to handle that onward negotiation for them. That's one great way to do it, right? And you look here, we've had a 20% fee increase. So my fee was 2% on a 600 grand house, 12,000 quid. I added 20%, no cost to acquire, because we already acquired the client to sell their house. There's probably a cost for that, but we've added 2.5 grand to our fee just by saving them 25 grand on their next property purchase. And it's an incredible, incredible way to get more recommendation. I've had clients call us up to say, oh, hi, can you come around and give me some advice? My friend John recommended you. I get round there and they had forgotten the fact that I got them 20 grand over asking price for their house. The thing that was driving the recommendation was that we saved them 35 grand on their onward purchase. That was like, oh my God, these guys are amazing. I tried to negotiate it, but didn't get anywhere. They got involved and we had the sale agreed, or the purchase agreed 35 grand under asking price. So this is the one that's going to really move the needle when it comes to fees. There's no silver bullet. Well, there is actually. It's that. And all these things lead to the onward negotiation. Then you can start offering it as a standalone service. We charge £750 for an hour for our negotiation consultancy to help people formulate their negotiation plan. It's just you just have to do it. If you're an estate agent and you see yourself as an estate agent and not just a selling agent, you have to get the onward negotiation implemented in your business, particularly in a lower volume market. When there's people selling like hotcakes, it's fine because it's a numbers game. In a market like now, you have to maximize revenue from every client that you bring on the market.
Mr. Powell, coming to the end, should we talk boot camp? I've got a question for you guys. I mean, I know you're on this call and most people have stayed on the call for the whole time. A couple of people I think have dropped off but they stay till the 45-minute mark. I know you're on this call because you've got a growth mindset and you want to learn and develop and feed your mind and be the best estate agent that you can be. But my question is, how serious are you? So I'm sure that there's already the ideas that we've given you today, playbook ideas that you can take back and implement in your business. Just imagine what it would be like if you spent 3 days with Perry going deep on this stuff, not just about what, but how you implement these strategies in your business, stage by stage, step by step. Every year, Perry and I have been running our boot camp end of November. We always do it in November because it's a great time of year. Allows you to end the year on a high, but set yourself up for 2026. So my question is, if you are really serious about building a great estate agency business, really serious about adding value for your clients, and really serious about creating more life, more freedom, more choices for yourself, then you need to come and hang out with Perry and I for 3 days at boot camp. 19th to the 21st of November, Marriott's Heathrow. We go deep on all this stuff. And it is just a really transformational. It's like doing 12 months, 24 months, 36 months of learning in 3 days. That's how powerful bootcamp is.
That QR code seems not to be working, so we'll send it to everybody. We'll send the link after this call. There's also we've just launched a kind of solo or small agency owner special offer. So speak to Kate about that after if you're keen. The thing is with bootcamp, what I'll end on is it's I'd worked with Royston for many years before we had started doing the boot camps. And in 2017, Power Bespoke was on the verge of going bust because I had great ideas, but I lacked the organisation and the leadership to make them a reality. And this is basically just, 10 years of trial and error in 3 days, and just stripping out all the stuff that don't work, and you get all the templates and the processes of what's actually working today in Power Bespoke, because that's my baby, but also in the scaling up members who have been on the program for some of them 2 years, to just scale and grow their estate agency businesses. So it'd be great to see people there. Get in touch, and we will hang out for 3 days working on going deep on all this kind of strategical stuff.
Guys, I guarantee one thing, and we do a risk reversal on the program. If you don't believe you're going to get value by the first coffee break, come and see Perry and I, and we'll give you your money back. But I guarantee one thing, we've never had anybody in 5-6 years of running boot camp who's left, and most people will get a 10, 15x, 20x return on the investment in coming to boot camp. So it's not a cost, it's an investment. And if you're really serious about being the best that you can be, then for me, it's an investment that you need to make. So great, guys.
Love that. Lots of thank you comments. I really appreciate it. Looks like people got good value, which is the main thing first and foremost. And yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. And we'll catch up with you soon.
See you guys.
Take care.